We're going to test out the 3x digital zoom on the Mavic 3 and then compare that to the 3x telephoto lens that's found on the Mavic 3 Pro here. This glass is backed by a 1/1.3 sensor. This digital cropping is backed by a 4/3 sensor. So one could argue technically that I might be able to digitally crop to 3x and we might just get footage just as good as the 1/1.3 optical lens that's also available on this drone. So let me get this little bad boy up in the air and we can get our test done. Are you ready? Let's get flying. If I'm gonna digitally zoom in, I'm gonna use the best resolution possible, which is 5.1K. I'm gonna leave everything on automatic, auto white balance, 5.1K 30, normal, H.264, nothing crazy on that end. Nothing crazy. Settings, ISO 100, we'll leave it at that. The aperture, we'll leave it at 2.8. Both apertures, I think, are 2.8. So to keep things equal, let's keep it at 2.8. So the shutter is basically going to do the work for here. Everything else is under control, and we're going to use a -3 exposure. Same thing with the 3x zoom. When we go into the well, I shouldn't say zoom, I should say 3x telephoto. And I go to the settings, we'll do 4K 30. I'd like to do 5.1K, but it doesn't do 5.1K. And instead of doing D-Log M, let's keep it in normal to keep things fair and simple. H.264, blah, blah, blah. When we go to the camera settings, -3. Now I'm going to digitally zoom. 1.8, 1.3. Now this 3x is not the telephoto. It doesn't automatically switch over to the telephoto lens. This is a 3x digital zoom off of 5.1K. So I will shoot that for 10 seconds approximately. Boom. Now we're going to switch over to the optical lens, the 3x telephoto lens. It's in the Mavic 3 Pro. Boom. Now we went through the settings. Yes, we dropped to 4K 30 instead of 5.1K 3x. But as I said before, 4K is max. We're at -3 exposure, so we keep both cameras pretty much doing their auto thing except messing with the ISO. Keep the ISO as low as possible. All right, let's hit record. If there really is no difference here, then I technically should be fine with a Mavic 3 or a Mavic 3 Classic. There's no real reason for me to get the 3x extra camera. This is an argument, right? What if this 3x off the 5.1K 4/3 sensor looks just as good as the optics, as the optical telephoto lens? Then we got an argument, right? We could do the same thing with the Air 3. We can just crop in 3x and we don't need the second lens. So it's kind of like a gimmick. Well, not really. The 3x might be more useful on the Air 3 than it might be in here. I'm just playing devil advocate. Why? Because the Air 3 doesn't have a 4/3 sensor. It has a smaller sensor. It doesn't have a 20 megapixel. It only has 12 megapixel. And when you digitally crop with the Air 3, it only maxes out at 4K. It doesn't max out at 5.1K. So you're gonna lose a lot more resolution going from 4K with a 3x crop than you will going with a bigger sensor with a 20 megapixel from 5.1K to a 3x crop. So yes, regardless of the outcome of this video, the Air 3 will definitely be worth it to have that secondary lens. So we'll do the same thing with the photos. JPEG, 4:3, yes. Auto white balance, very good. ISO 100, auto shutter, aperture 2.8, -3 exposure. So both are technically the same. Now let's zoom in. Oh, there's no zoom in the photo. Look at that. There's no zoom in the photo life. So what will we have to do? We'll have to take a photo at 1x and then just crop in and compare that to the 3x telephoto and just snap a photo. Boom. And now we're going to go into 3x zoom. We're going to zoom times 3. There we go, digital zoom. There we go. We're going to hit record. So I've got this in the foreground. And let me see if I can do manual focus, because manual focus is what really brings out that parallax effect. Peaking levels, let's put it on high. There we go. That shows us what's in focus and what's out of focus. So let's try to get this with the parallax effect. There we go. With the 3x digital zoom on the 4/3 lens where I'm focusing. You see where the red is? The red is on the observatory, and everything else in the background, look, is out of focus until now. Look, I could bring the red in the background, but I don't want that. That's almost everything in focus. I want the parallax effect. So let's bring that red to the observatory and leave everything in the background out of focus. And boom, I can get the same parallax effect that you can get with your 3x telephoto camera. Guys, let's stop that. Let's go to the natural telephoto optical zoom where everything is in focus right now. And we will manual focus this and get it off of everything else in the background. So here we go. We got it. We got the motion blurry background over here. I think we got it here, and hit record. So now I'm attempting to show, and look, I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just saying, look, guys, you got to have an open mind, right? Maybe you could save some money and just use the 3x zoom. There's no need to upgrade from the Mavic 3 to the Mavic 3 Pro if you don't really need that secondary lens. Or maybe if we post it on Facebook, it'll look just fine. And nobody will be able to tell the difference between digital and telephoto. I'm just saying, right? You got to put this stuff out there because money's hard to get these days. And you might not need that 3x telephoto in your life. I'm just saying. But anyway, I don't want to be here speculating. Let's get the drone back. Let's get back to the studio and analyze these videos and photos. The first thing we're going to tackle is the photos. I did my best to 3x crop zoom. I just cropped into what I matched the other photos to it. But just from the fact that you cannot digitally zoom in the camera itself, I would say just, if you can, stay away from these photos because it just doesn't look good. Look at the boat here where my cross is. All here just looks like moosh. Everything just looks mooshed up. The whole photo just digitally zoomed just looks like moosh. And if I were to zoom in anymore, let's go 5x. You use 5x, you're just seeing pixels. Basically, that's all you're seeing. Everything becomes just pixelated. That's just real bad. Let's look at the 12 megapixel. Let's expand that out. And just look how clean and crisp this photo looks, fully expanded. Just really nice, vivid to just clean and crisp. So this telephoto camera, when it comes to photos, is off the charts. So yeah, so if you're a photographer, I would tell you right now, stop this video. You definitely need the Pro if you want to do photography, 3x, photography. Even when I 5x zoom on this, it doesn't look pixelated. Yes, it looks mushy, but it does not look pixelated. And even if I come down to the boat's somewhat recognizable. That's pretty much it when it comes to photos. Now, when it comes to video, that's a different story. Let's go into DaVinci Resolve over here. I'll expand my timeline. Looking at the two of them, you can see that this has a lot more, to me, has a lot more detail. Look at the globe, looks a lot more detailed compared to this. Look at the top where it says chase over here, and look at the top where it says chase over here. It's very blurry. So the digital, even the stuff that's far away over here, starting to look pixelated. This far away looks mushy but not pixelated. Details in the sky and the clouds look a lot better. Even the observatory, you can make it out a lot cleaner here. But when you switch over here to a close-up, that's when things get different. So if you're using the 3x digital zoom, if you look at this close-up compared to this close-up, this might be a little bright and overexposed. If you look at these tiles at the bottom here, it's kind of damaged. Over here, it's not damaged yet because the telephoto handles exposure a little bit better compared to the digital zoom, and that's because when you zoom in, then you really see exposure showing itself. So if you're gonna shoot in the digital zoom, I would stop down your exposure instead of -3. If you know you're going to use the digital zoom, go down to -7, and then your exposure should match this telephoto at -3. Now you'll notice the same thing here. The details are there on the 3x digital. It's very similar to the optical. As a matter of fact, the optical, if you look at the steps here, just looks a little bit more rich in color. That's it. This is a lighter yellow, that's a darker yellow. But I can literally go here to the digital and just up the saturation a little bit. And look, the saturation kind of matches now. They actually look very, very similar. And because you can actually see more in here than you can see in here. But then that's not a detail thing, that's an exposure thing. If you don't have that extra money to spend, or you already purchased a Mavic 3 or a Mavic 3 Classic and you don't have that extra 3x telephoto lens, you can with a little bit of DaVinci Resolve, you can match them up pretty closely. And that's because you're coming from 5.1K. That's because it's a 20 megapixel. And that's because it's a massive 4/3 sensor. You can actually make these two look very comparable. Just straight out of camera. And you're looking at this from your smartphone with the 3x digital and the 3x optical. I did no editing to either one, just like I did here. You can look at that video on your smartphone, and I can promise you it's very hard to tell the difference on Facebook. And that's even side by side. And if you don't play it side by side and you just shoot 3x digital, people could mistake it for the telephoto because it's just that good. Look at it on your phone. I can promise you it's very, very difficult to tell the difference, because by the time I export this and I upload it to YouTube, YouTube's compression hits it even at the highest resolution. You're not going to be able to see the difference. Are you just posting to Facebook and YouTube and viewing on your phone? Your audience is viewing on their phone, like 90 something or 70 something percent of people are, then that's fine. You can get away without the optical. Is the optical nice to have? Yes. I didn't expect the results to be this close at all. So do me a favor, give this video a huge thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you share this video with anyone who you know flies a Mavic 3. All right. So with that being said, I will catch you guys, well, whenever I can. Make sure you become a Patreon, guys. Big benefits to Patreon. Get direct access to me. Any questions? I'm right here on Patreon. Support this channel, and there's benefits. Last Mini 2 went all the way to the UK.